Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Today, we will learn about another support service in the real estate industry, and that is videography. Today, I have one of the most experienced and professional videographers in Northeast Florida with me today. He is a content creator and digital marketing specialist. He has worked with brands including Maui Jim Sunglasses, Florida State, Marriott, and Chevy, amongst others. He actually wrote his first novel, Wolves of the Shadowlands, as self-published in 2017. Let's welcome the guy who makes real estate agents look and sound great, Matthew Manyak, the founder and owner of Double M Digital LLC, to the show.
Hey Tracy, thanks so much for having me on today.
Thank you, Matt. I'm so glad you made it over this morning. I really I push on my show a lot of times, and obviously conversations you and I have all the time about helping agents grow their content, grow their social media presence, no matter where they go. If you listen to a couple shows back where I had Krista Mashore on. She is an expert in the digital marketing area. She trains realtors to do it, and it's all about video, and to have you on and give some insight of, because I think a lot of agents really don't know. I mean, what a videographer does ultimately and can do. You only know what you know.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, let's start off a little bit because www.matthewmanyak.com is the website. I think everyone should go on because Matt obviously has a lot of examples of some of the work that he has, including some agencies worked with. But you've done some film production, including right now you actually have a full feature film coming soon. Tell us a little bit about that, but ultimately, how you kind of got started in videography or videoing, because I think your initial part of your career was in movies, ultimately, your short movies.
Yep. So I actually went to Douglas Anderson School of the Arts here in Jax for their cinematic arts program. During my time there, I had the opportunity to do a short film called After the Fall, and we did that as part of the senior thesis film, and that ultimately went off to a film festival over in LA at the Chinese Theater, the Holly Shorts Film Festival, as well as the All-American High School Student Film Festival up at the AMC in Times Square. And so that was kind of really became the foray into the film industry, where I kind of got my start. Is that something the school kind of, as a project you guys do to submit to be considered to be part of the the Chinese Film Festival and those type of things? Is that how it works? Yeah. So as part of the program, the goal was to get experience in submitting our short films, our projects, to film festivals, to kind of get that industry experience, that real world experience of the business side of the film industry. And a couple of the ones that I chose to submit to were kind of those higher end ones, where I could really kind of see how my content would hold up in relation to, I guess, what we'll call the big dogs that had bigger budgets and name talent and all that stuff. And when it got into those festivals, I was like, cool. I mean, just kind of reinforced this idea that to me, I was on the right track, and decided to delve further into that.
The getting into that industry, because it's not like you don't see advertisements on job listings to, hey, you want to come learn how to shoot video. For someone wanting to get in that business, maybe as a young person wanting to experience, what are some of the things you did as a young person to kind of that led you to that school, I guess?
Yeah, so I mean, for people that are wanting to kind of get into content creation, videography, filmmaking in general, I mean, one of the things that I'm a big proponent of is self-education. While the program at TA is great, I learned a lot of amazing stuff in technical skills, creative skills there. I would say that having that self-educational background and self-educational element to it is only going to help elevate your skill sets and your experiences that much more. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, right? As with real estate, right? To become better, you have to do it.
Right.
And so I've just been doing it for a very long time, since 2012. I mean, of course, back then, that was the backyard Nerf 4 YouTube years, as we call them, when we don't kind of talk about those a whole lot.
Well, I mean, as a young person today, let's just take my son Ty is 13 years old. He wants to get into it. And would you agree today, now a decade or more beyond when you kind of got started, with all the apps that are out there for editing and so forth, there is a lot more. Of course, I'm sure YouTube is full of all types of, which I know, well, it is all full of all types of informational stuff on where these young people can start dabbling and filming and editing. Obviously, you got Instagram and TikTok and all those things to practice making your stuff, desirable, I guess, if you want.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, just like you said, right, in the past, say, decade, we've seen a democratization of creative technology, and we're in this space, this industry, this area of content creation where anyone can technically do it with this, and but then it kind of leads into, like, how good can you make it with the phone versus someone like me that comes in with, the gear and all that.
Right.
But for someone that's looking to get started, you don't need that fancy equipment. You don't need the gear. You don't need, like, the bajillion dollars worth of assets to make something. If you've got the drive, if you've got just, again, phone cameras are a great place to start. But at the end of the day, it's just, how are you going to start? Where are you going to grow? What do you want to do?
Right.
Because in content creation, there's so much that you can go into. There's, I mean, obviously web content, social media content, there's filmmaking, there's TV, and live broadcast, thinking like news and things like that, and stuff like this, podcasts.
Right.
There's so much that you can do within the realm of content creation. It's just a matter of identifying where you want to go and what you want to do and taking it from there.
Right. I've tried to get my kids to dabble in it because obviously they watch Mr. Beast on YouTube.
Yep.
Everyone has that dream, but Mr. Beast started somewhere. It's a great story of him just playing around and him getting his first camera and so forth. But now him, if he was to start his deal today, he'd be so much further along because of the technology and information that was out there. He's now great because he's a provider of that education and people are watching it.
Absolutely.
But now there's tons of education on it, and would you agree there's in content creation, whether it's doing Instagram or doing what you do, working with the real estate agents and other professional businesses and showcasing them, I mean, there's a lot of room in that business. It's a very small percentage that are actually really, if you want to use the word, exploiting it, utilizing the video.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's as crazy as it sounds, I still feel like it's kind of in that early adoption phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
People that adopted it, say 5 years ago, 10 years ago, are now reaping tremendous benefits because of doing so. And now we're starting to see more and more people recognizing the need for it and then adapting and pivoting and implementing it into their marketing strategies, into their business development strategies, right? Because a lot of people think video is just solely for marketing, which isn't really the case. Mm-hmm. It's an important asset and element of marketing, but when you think about it, right, you can use videos for training. You can use videos for, I mean, obviously your own personal branding and marketing too. Mm-hmm. But it's like there's so many other applications of it, entertainment, that video is a part of that we can utilize and implement.
Well, it's we talk about repurposing video, but like you just said, there's a video from training or education in the real estate world or the loan officer world that I'm in. They have those videos. The customers, the comments that come back when you send them a video. Hey, this is what you need to do next, or maybe we're explaining a document or something of that nature, and you have these set videos in your YouTube or wherever you're storing them that you've got them there. It also builds the video builds a lot of credibility versus just writing it. Would you agree? Because it is coming from them. They're seeing the human face and,
Yep.
and your reactions and hand gestures, as you and I both do.
Yes. Yeah. No. So I mean, to some extent, yes. To some extent, no. So from the standpoint of a single video, it's going to give you some credibility, but if you're consistently posting video, consistently posting content, consistently being active, that's where the credibility, I think, comes into play.
Yes.
Because it shows not only are you a real person, it shows that you're active in the industry, right? And so, I mean, they say content is king. I say consistent content is king.
Well, yes. I didn't want to take what, you have to be, you want to create that series of of videos and consistently, dropping in, as Krista Mashore was talking about in the last podcast. You want to update things, but you want to keep that. I'm going to lead to YouTube here, because I think YouTube is so underutilized in our industry of real estate industry, because there's only a handful of agents out there that have a page, and where a lot of the 150 agents, roughly, or probably 130 something that I've had on the podcast, I would say 95% of them actually, they have a YouTube page, but it has one or two videos that they did 3 years ago, and then they stopped. They did a handful and just ended. Because it's a search mechanism, it's that credibility. If someone goes onto your YouTube page and sees you got 100 videos talking about all these different neighborhoods, they're like, wow, this person is larger than probably they really are.
Yeah, absolutely, and you got to think about it too, right? I mean, one thing that we're seeing today, right, is the difference between, say, YouTube content and like TikTok, Instagram content. TikTok and Instagram is great for like the here and now, the kind of the rapid pivoting of the industries and stuff, but in the market. But YouTube is geared more towards thinking of it in that long-term sense, right? You could do, say, a video on like Beacon Lakes or something, right? That like you do that today, who knows, 5 years down the line, someone is going to be searching for, homes,
Beacon Lakes,
St. Augustine, Beacon Lakes,
right?
Whatever it ends up being. And they're not going to find that on Instagram because it's going to be buried over the course of 3-4 years, however long. But on YouTube, because YouTube is the second biggest search engine behind Google, but Google owns YouTube, so it all kind of plays into it.
Right.
So you got to look at it that way, right? Is video is a lot of people think that it's like, okay, we're going to make content, we're going to do videos, and we're going to see immediate results. That can't be the case if you go viral, but it's not always the case. And so you got to look at video as a long-term asset that you're building and that you're growing, and that you need to have a strategy with, and ultimately looking at how is this going to help us over the course of the long term. And then obviously, just like I said.
All right, so let's stick in this, since we're on the subject, and I don't want anyone listening, I don't want to change the subject, because this is a very important piece. We see a lot of agents using Instagram, which is great. It is, for that, age group, but it is seen to be a favorite, Instagram amongst the agents. I think if we took a poll, Instagram would be their number one social media. It's great for staying top of mind with your friends and family, because they're following you, and they're going to get an alert, and you're constantly reminded that that person's in real estate, because they might be years away from doing a transaction, but they're going to remember, oh yes, I remember, I see her videos, her little reels all the time. But YouTube, when it comes to this being Florida, and a majority of our buyers, or a good percentage of them, 50%, I think it's higher now because the interest rates are high, so no one's really moving locally. It's the people who want to come here, who are willing to pay the higher interest rates right now to come to Florida. They're searching on Google, and therefore not taking that same reel that you're using in Instagram and putting it in the YouTube Shorts. I for some reason, there's a disconnect of why they're not doing it. I can't figure it out. Have you had any interaction with the agents in talking about that kind of thing?
So, I mean, as far as interactions that I've had, I mean, it's before speaking to me, it's kind of the same thing. But what I always try to hone in on and bring up as a consideration is pretty much exactly what you said, is taking that content, repurposing it over the course of whatever platforms and things that you have, right? So if you're doing, say, like a YouTube video even, right? Say you're doing 3 reasons why you should move to Northeast Florida, right? Take one of those, or even all 3 of them, have that longer format, say 3, 4, 5-minute YouTube video, and then take each of those 3 tips or 3 reasons, turn those into a YouTube short or Instagram reel, and then put that out across Instagram reels, YouTube shorts. If you got a TikTok, I mean, use it. Like there's so much that you can do, and it's just like you said, that it's that aspect of repurposing strategically. I have to say is another piece of it too, because if you're making this content, you want it to work for you, not just put it out there and.
Right, and like you said, oftentimes the type of videos like you're talking about, 3 reasons to move to Florida. Well, that could be used today or 3 years from now. If you go on YouTube and go up in the search or and put reasons to move to Florida, it's going to pop up. Now, obviously, that's a common thing, so a lot of agents are probably going to put on there. If you put in be a little more defined, moving to Jacksonville or moving to St. Augustine, or 3 reasons to move in the Beacon Lakes, and get actually that finite in the search. YouTube is going to pop that video up that you did 3 years ago. I keep telling people the full length videos of my podcasts. I don't advertise them or anything. They're on YouTube. Obviously, we're streaming right now, but the so-called edited version will go on with a thumbnail and everything on the YouTube. And they are slowly getting hits, here and there, where people I have to be searching that agent. And that I know if you go on there and search a lot of the agents that have been on the show, that not only the podcast audio will come up with Apple, because Apple's there, and then you're gonna have YouTube's gonna pop up with the subject. We might have did that podcast 2 years ago, but it's gonna pop up and someone can actually interact with it, where you're not gonna get that kind of search with Instagram or TikTok as far as being time down the road.
No, definitely, yeah. And to that same point, right? I often get the question is what platform is best, right? It's like if you have to pick one, what's it going to be? And the way I like to say it is, it's not about one platform; it's about omnipresence, right? Mm-hmm. So just like we're saying, repurposing content across multiple platforms is going to be the best strategy to go, because that way you're not only hitting the short-term, say, brand awareness through like Instagram and TikTok and all that, but you're also doing the indexing for the long-term search through YouTube.
Right.
So rather than, say, picking one, it's finding a way to strategically leverage your content to hit all of them.
Right. Right. And I'm going to drop in here because me and Matt are talking about it. We want to put on a social media class. And then one of the things is repurposing that content. You're putting it on Instagram, but then we're also putting it in YouTube Shorts. Or if you are doing more, doing a 5-minute video, that's a great YouTube thing, for a search, depending on what you're talking about and you want to explain and educate. When it comes to, I know we're kind of off our thing here, but I think you'll have an opinion of this. Education. I mean, Krista Mashore, that was part of her spiel and what she coaches and so forth, to adding value. Because I think that's why, whether you're making someone laugh or you're telling someone how to do something, it's adding value, entertainment or education. How important, in the social media, when it comes to educating, as far as what people are using social media for, where I'm leading to, the percentage of people that actually go to social media to be educated on something, and how much of a demand is that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's various demographics, obviously, of people that use social media, but you got to look at making the content for the people that you want to attract, right? So as an example, I do a lot of work kind of in the entrepreneurial space, and when I post, I kind of gear my content towards people that are like, entrepreneurially inclined, small business owners, people that are kind of doing the same thing as me, just in different industries, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I get the best engagement on is Motivational Mondays, right? So my goal with my content on Instagram specifically, it's not to sell, it's to just provide value and share my story, share my experiences, and then have people benefit from the lessons that I've learned through those experiences. Right. And I've several times had people that have reached out to me through just the Instagram direct messaging after seeing the Motivational Mondays, and they're like, "Thank you, I needed this today." So it's and I actually have a client of mine right now.
It's amazing how sometimes those things pop up when you're like, I've had them pop up, the little motivational things from different people, just different phrases. And it's like, wow, yeah, actually I needed it. I didn't say nothing to anyone. I was thinking it, and all of a sudden it pops up. You're like, woo, what's going on?
Yeah, no, and it's crazy. I will always remember there was one day I did a Motivational Monday post, just talking about never giving up and keep moving forward, just kind of to keep it basic. And I had someone reach out to me, and he had said, I'm thinking I'm at that point where I can retire, and I'm debating, do I, stay, just kind of go that little extra couple months, get a little extra more income and then retire, or do I, delve into this completely new field and start a completely new venture? Mm-hmm. And he's like, I saw your Instagram post and I read it, and it hit me, and I'm going to go through with this venture. And fast forward a year, he's now a client of mine.
Oh, cool.
Like there was no intention of selling,
Right.
But it provided that value and that experience to then benefit someone else. And now we're working together.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the small business part of it, because as real estate agents are a small business. So whether, I know you have your website, you have some different businesses on. You have loan officer, you have real estate agents on there, but you also have some other types of businesses that you work with. You have a name for it where you go in initially. It's a package they can get with you where it's kind of get to know you. Type thing. Here's my business. You go through their office and you're shooting while they're talking or doing a voiceover or whatever it may be. When you're sitting down with that small business owner, and it makes me, I had an agent on the other day. She used to work with Mint Magazine, which 10 years ago it was hot, the coupons and so forth, and these small businesses are being bombarded with stuff like that. Like, hey, come advertise in our business, or on our magazine, come advertise here, come and advertise there. What is the value? Because social media is for the most part free. Obviously, they can pay to, if on Facebook
Boost
or
it
something
and
to
advertise it,
to send it to particular people, which is a whole nother conversation. There is Facebook advertising, but obviously they got to pay. They got to pay. Their expense is you. Their expense is the actual videoing and making it look good. They could post that video 1 million times for nothing, and then post it on every platform that will take that length of video. Explain to what's the conversation or the value that you explain to them. Spending that money, assuming they're on some sort of budget, spending those whatever thousands of dollars with you versus spending it on some other old school, more or less advertising. Which really, everything I could think of, I can't think of anything out there that can compete with social media as far as being cutting edge. And I swear to God, everywhere we go, everybody's in their phone, right?
Yep.
And, there's billboards while you're driving down the road. But when it comes to TV and everything, we're watching Netflix, we're watching Prime. I guess if I'm watching a sporting event, I might see the national advertising coming on. But really, for that small business and the bang for their dollar, how do you value proposition that?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, the market of real estate agents and just small businesses in general is very saturated here in Northeast Florida, and so the biggest thing is how do you stand out? How do you separate yourself? How do you define yourself in comparison to everyone else? In comparison to the noise? And so with that company profile, as I call them, is we look at what is the customer's journey, what sets you apart, what makes you different, and let's really hone in on that point visually, so that way when someone watches the video, they're not seeing the person that, is acting as a client or that is the client performing in the video, but they're seeing themselves and visually going through the journey of working with that small business or that agent, and again, just being able to put themselves in that shoe without having to even have a phone call. So that way, basically, the goal there is to sell them on the experience of working with so-and-so business agent, whatever, before there's even that initial inquiry.
Do you? I have a lot of conversations with the agents, and the consensus is I haven't found anyone that tells me they're doing business because they work for or work under X brokerage. The Keller Williams, Remax, whatever you name there's thousands of brokers, real estate company brokers names out there. No one, to me, says they do more business because of that brand. Knowing what your experience, you're working with these agents now. How hard are the top agents working to create their own brand? Now, they still have their little logo that they work for XYZ real estate company, but that's not what actually does it. It's they themselves. And what are some of the things that you've helped, kind of help them create their own brand, through video?
Yeah. So, branding is super important, right? Because it's when I was coming up with my own brand for Matthew Manyak, I was like, I've got such a weird last name. No one's going to remember my last name
right
off the bat. Now, maybe that's changed at least a little bit. But what I would do is I kind of thought to myself, is like, people won't remember the name, but they'll remember the image. And so I kind of created the M that's featured in my logo and all that. And what I decided that I wanted as part of that is, when people see it, I want them to have this reaction, this emotion of, when I work with this person, I'm going to get a VIP level experience, a platinum level experience, a bespoke solution in media, and that this guy's pretty cool. So, and I feel for the most part that the logo that I created and the brand that I've built kind of around it captures that.
Right.
And so through the use of video and things like that, we're going to look at how can we elicit those kinds of emotions in the viewers, right? So if your goal is to kind of hone in on the aspect that you work with military families, then let's hone in on that. Let's share the experiences that you've
Put
had.
the images in the background, or be in the scene, right? Be in the scene of something that's in the background that's going to relate to that.
Yeah, and even if it's not even that, we look at how do we communicate those elements through the video, right? Because we can, kind of like you said, we can have that background, we can kind of weave that subtextually into the videos, or we look at how can we, even if it's just kind of a office background, right? How do we communicate that through spoken word, or through, you know, what we're wearing and things like that? How do we communicate it that way, right? So there's a lot of different considerations that we can look at, but ultimately we look at like, what do you want to be known for? What do you want to achieve through content? And then we structure the kind of the strategy, the plan around that.
It's so when you explain that, makes me, obviously the phrase, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right?
And a video's worth 1,000,000.
Yeah, well, because you can put yourself in those positions with a video or a picture, but that you have these other images in the background that is, leading into your message in an overall sense. Where you're located when you take the video, you can be very, very important in the overall message. You don't actually have to say it, but where you're located says it. Type of thing. So the offerings that you're doing. Let's bring it to some of the things that you're doing for the agents, and we can probably bring on. I'm just going to list them off so anyone listening here. Obviously, the short form, right? You do for some photography.
Yep, we can do photography. We do the Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, commercials. We can help with podcasts, things like that. So there's if it involves a camera,
right? Listing videos is what you had on there. Yep. Local guides. That's one of the things Krista Mashore, touched on in her digital marketing expertise, and she talks about, she has spent millions of dollars digging into to truly be called a digital marketing expert, but actually taking the time to, when you're at that restaurant or at that business and, talking about it, to be the local expert. It's one thing to put the phone up and be in, this background like we've got here and say, oh yeah, I had a great breakfast this morning at First Watch, but to actually do it in front of the location, or do it in the location. Hey, I'm at First Watch this morning, and look at this beautiful breakfast that I'm having, and the impact that it has. And only video really can bring that.
Yeah, and one thing that can be considered, right, to kind of go that extra mile is I always talk about, authority through association, right? So if you're seen with all the business owners in Jacksonville, you're going to become like this, like God or goddess figure, right? And so it's like, if through like a local guide, take the time to set up an interview with the business owner, because they're going to love you for the additional eyes that you're bringing to their business, and vice versa. They'll be able to reshare it on their page.
Well, especially if they are social media present too, tagging them on there or using them as a collaborator for them to and that's the one thing I tell a lot of people. Let's take my podcast, right? I'm putting it out there on social media, and I have seen spikes in viewership, whether it's downloads of the audio podcast or just interactions, just by simply posting like the video we're doing here today, it's going out there, and your circle, people that I don't interact with on a daily basis at all. They're not even friends of mine in social media that are friends of yours. I post this on your page and also all your friends, and the comments that you'll get from all their friends. Again, another, just touching them one more time, reminding them, and now of course you're talking about your business, so they're able to hear that. You enter into other people's circles.
Right, because I mean, I'm sure you hear all the time, right? A lot of real estate is referrals based, and I mean, in my business, a lot of my business is referrals based. So I'm always thinking strategically about how can we get the most bang for the buck, is by featuring other businesses and providing additional value to them as well, and then leveraging that as far as second, third circle connections.
Yeah. Well, I mean, real estate is one of those industries where not everybody's ready to buy or sell a house today, and they might be 3 hours away, 3 months away, 3 years away, 30 years away. We don't know, and by planting the little traps all the time, which is your video. You're adding value. You're constantly adding value, and you may add so much value. Someone's full of your value and think you're the greatest thing. They're just not ready for a transaction yet. But when they come to it, they're going to remember you because of the value you put in them.
Absolutely, right. And something else to consider too, right, is looking at ways that you can loop in other agents, right? And I know that can sometimes be a kind of a taboo topic, but looking at it from the standpoint as maybe you do a remote piece of content with an agent from New York, and then because New York is one of the places people are moving from,
and they're getting referrals from those agents oftentimes.
Yeah, so building those connections with out-of-state agents from places that people are moving to Florida from, right? And it's tying that in, because then it's again that referral aspect, and that video, that connection is going to work for you.
Wow, I'm trying to figure. Whoa, you're all of a sudden my mind just. I had the light bulb went off. Hold on a second. Okay, all right. Yeah. I gotta really work on that particular one, because I try to, obviously, as you know, I bring in the agents in the office as much as possible, but occasionally, like once a month or so, I may do a virtual podcast with somebody like Krista Mashore last week, and Leola Vasquez and others, virtually occasionally, just to bring in some different words from outside, and I never really thought about from the referral standpoint. The benefit of an agent, whether they're doing a podcast, and if I was doing a podcast as a real estate agent, I'm thinking, I would actually do a podcast with real estate agents all across that are on social media and so forth, that are being seen as an expert in the area, because there's going to be referrals coming in. And wow, that's brilliant. That's a whole no. Oh, Matt, you know me. I'm an entrepreneur. My visionary just exploded here.
Yeah, the big thing is always is you got to try to think outside the box, right? Everybody thinks video is this or content is this, but it's like, hey,
there's so many tangible
don't
benefits.
Don't always look at your target audience or what you think is your target audience. Look at who routinely interacts with the people that you do business with.
Right.
Because there's opportunity in the margins.
Right. Well, we'll go back just quickly, the entering the other people's circle. You're mentioning them, their friends are seeing it. You're seeing through that person that that person's across from you, or that business owner or whatever. You're now entering. You're seeing through that person. That person may never give you the referral, but that 3-minute video they did with you is going to now enter you into a circle, or someone might be one of their friends thinking about real estate, and here, because you did that, say, oh, that was a nice gesture you did for John, with the restaurant owner, and I'm going to answer back because I like John.
There you go.
Yeah, your credibility. You and I talk about it a lot. Obviously we're putting together this class that we want to put on for agents to help them from a real grassroots, hands-on, how to do it. What do you hear out there? Obviously you work with some agent groups already, but I'm sure you've had conversations with a lot of agents who haven't acquired your service. They want to, but it's almost like they just don't know how to.
Like as far as, like doing it themselves, or
no, they just don't know, like, what's the first step?
So
you know?
so the first step, I mean, obviously, is to contact me, give me
Yeah.
a call, shoot me an email. But
And you assume you're setting up a consultation.
yeah, like there's a no charge consultation at first, and I think a lot of people get cold feet thinking that's like, oh, like people see my website and sometimes and think that I'm like super busy, which I mean, granted, I am busy, but I'm not busy to the extent of I can't take care of people, right?
Well, there's the marketing part of it. You have to go and actually tell people what you do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and again, to that same point, people will sometimes see my website, see the film background, the Hollywood background, and be like, oh, this guy probably costs his arm and a leg. But it's like you're never going to know unless we have that conversation.
Right.
And so that initial consultation is to identify if you know what you want to do, great. If you don't, let's talk about what your goals are and what you think that you want to do. And then let's talk through that, kind of come up with the strategy, kind of come up with a kind of a game plan, and then kind of prescribe a strategy to that. And then from there, it becomes, okay, what videos are we going to make that are going to get us from here to here?
Have you had, I mean, I imagine you have some that are already, they're like all in right away, right? You don't even really have to say too much. They're like, hey, Matt, this is what we want to do. We want to shoot these videos, this video. You make a suggestion. They're already game on. Have you had those where they kind of, let's talk. And after you were able to kind of, like you said, a lot of people think videos are right here and they're not looking the many tangible benefits. After you talk to them, you opened their eyes.
Yeah, no, like going into it, there's a fair amount of people just in general that see videos as a deliverable and not as an asset. And so by having...
Explain that to our audience.
Yeah, so videos as a deliverable would be say, hey, I make a video for you, here you go, you post it, and it's post and pray. Videos as an asset is let's make something, a video in this case, that's going to work for you, right? In some fashion, some way, shape, or form. Whether that's, getting brand, if your goal is brand awareness on Instagram, then let's cater some reels towards that. If your goal is omni-channel brand awareness, then it's a little more involved, talking YouTube, talking shorts, talking reels, all that stuff. If your goal is a sales funnel, right? Capturing emails, walking people through a nurture sequence, having videos on each of those landing pages, let's talk about what that's going to look like and how we can best engage your target demographic through that. So maybe, going back to our Beacon Lakes kind of example there, maybe you're building out a funnel that gears towards Beacon Lakes, and it's like, all right, maybe the target demographic is people that are looking for that kind of community, master plan community in St. Johns County. Let's build a funnel that caters to that information that's going to gear towards those people that are looking at that kind of that kind of community.
Right.
And communicating that information so that way when they are ready to make that purchase or they are ready to learn more, they set up the call with you.
All right, so that you kind of expanded there. If my audience, if you guys are listening to what Matt just explained, because everyone would agree, we all have these CRMs, the customer management systems, and you're putting these people on different campaigns, depending on what they're are they urgently like, hey, we're moving here before school starts in August, or hey, we're thinking about it when we retire in 5 years, right? There's two different drip campaigns, as the industry calls it. We're sending them out different information. I think you would agree. Many agents, again, talking to well over 130 of them, the top in the area. Most of them of our agents who are probably not as successful as those, are more in it for the instant gratification. And what you're talking about is what you and I mentioned, what Krista Mashore talks about, and that is building that campaign. You have to drip on those 5-year people, because that in 5 years, obviously we don't know, but if in theory, if you could say, yep, they're going to buy in 2028 in June and put it on the map, so I'm going to contact them in the springtime so they can get ready to buy in June, that would be perfect, right? But you never know how people's lives changes.
Yep.
Things happen, and maybe they move earlier, maybe someone gets sick, when someone passes away, they get divorced. We don't know, and you've got to be continuing building up these the database you're talking about, building, the funnel,
Yep.
which then puts them into their different categories and consistently be sending them value information. And then hopefully one day they'll turn. But the power of video added to those. In your, imagine you've probably, industry jargon, literature, magazines, and so forth, they talk about how people are more apt to actually click on the video than they are to read some paragraph that someone wrote.
So true story. This was, I want to say, maybe like 5 months ago or something. There was a guy from Quebec. He was moving to Orlando. He's also a videographer. And I mean, I'm the kind of person that, I get an email, I read it. I read every email that comes into my inbox when it's business related. And so, but the one thing that made this gentleman different was he sent a video, and it was like embedded in the email. And he just kind of explained, hey, I'm such and such with such and such. I'd love to set up a time to connect. And I mean, it wasn't salesy at all, like, because we both understood that we're both videographers. And I mean, in that instance, it's like, okay, how can we work together?
Right.
And so, but just the fact that it was a video, it was personalized to me, because he said, hey, I saw your video XYZ. It was a car video that I'd done from one of like the Cars and Coffee here in Jacksonville. And he's like, I love cars. Let's like, we do a lot of the same stuff. I'd love to connect. And I was like, cool, let's set up a Zoom. And I mean, I get excited whenever I get a business related email in my inbox. I'm that kind of guy. But being that it was a video, just kind of was like, oh wow, you went the extra mile.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna, figure something out. Let's meet today, kind of thing.
How true is the saying? I mention it all the time because obviously we're talking about social media and video with a lot of the agents. How true is it that whether you and I are sitting here across from each other on a table versus watching that video you watched from his email, that your mind doesn't differentiate?
To some extent, yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's always going to be that little bit of a barrier, but the barrier gets lowered and it's thinner when you're seeing someone speaking to you directly,
Right.
because it wasn't like, hey, I saw you. Like, it's like, hey, I'm looking to connect. It's like, hey, Matthew, I saw your video, that car show that you did. Really like what you did with this. Like he was calling out shots on me. I was like, okay, he watched the video, and then I went and checked out his work. So it's like, yeah, it's like, be intentional and personal with those kinds of videos, and they'll be able to work a lot harder for you. It's a lot more work. But
Just to tailor off, you're in digital. Going to go back to Krista Shore. The experience she has, the coaching she has over years. She's an award-winning funnelist, I guess you call it, right? She competes with some of the best in the business that are at this. But one of the tips she said was she sends out 10 video messages a day. So where she just takes her phone and says, hey, Sally, maybe she said, happy birthday, just want to wish you happy, or hey, hope you're having a great week, haven't heard from you in a while, all the best, right? God bless you, whatever she said. To send 10 of those a day. The video message, we often want to do tags, but the video is just so much more impactful. And I'm a strong believer, and I'll get your comment on this. I'm a strong believer that people remember those who create an emotion at them. Now, it might be a negative emotion. They'll remember that person, but someone who makes them laugh, or educates them, but makes an emotional, gets emotional reaction at them. Generally, they'll remember that person.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing in film and TV, right? The goal is to tell stories, but convey emotion through those stories.
The story's more impactful when you create laughter or sadness or what.
Yeah, it's like you'll remember the movies that make you cry, and although you probably remember the ones that get your heart going and stressed out and the adrenaline going.
Yeah.
But it's like those emotions are what get locked in here, and so if you can elicit those through the use of video, through the use of content, then that's going to enhance you that much more.
In your movie in background and so forth, do people build relationships with actors they like because of the emotions that that actor or actress draws from them?
Yeah, no, and same thing with directors and screenwriters. It's all because you can have a great script but not a great actor, and sometimes it can still work.
Right.
just depending on obviously who it is.
How good the script
But,
is.
yeah, but it's like not to go down a rabbit hole, but like for me, it's Christopher Nolan. Anything he does, anything he makes, I'm gonna go see in IMAX.
Right.
But like,
because you connect with that, whatever it is.
exactly.
Like I think Jason Bateman's so funny. I love his
yeah.
movies, and there's something about his humor that I like, and I want to watch it. So spinning this back to a real estate agent creating video, how important is it when they get in front of them? No, we all look like we can't change what we look like, at least not for any reasonable amount of money, and in pain. But we are who we are. You whatever it's race, your gender, you're blonde, brunette, whatever. You are who you are. You like to have a beard. You don't like to have a beard. You are who you are, and we attract like kind. For the most part, people who have hearing us, reacting to us. There's a, like I've never obviously met Jason Bateman before, but listening and watching his movies, if he's doing a movie, I'm likely to watch it no matter what it is because he's in it, right?
Yep.
When it comes to the real estate agent, how important, and when they're branding for themselves, we're talking, we have all these workers, but they themselves have to create their own brand, that they need to put themselves out there, in the best vehicle for that is video, so that others who will, and we all, I don't know if there's a statistic on what's the percentage of if someone just gets on a video and, talks about they say the same thing as someone else, they're going to attract different people just because maybe it is race, maybe it is gender, maybe just how their voice sounds, or they're sarcastic or they're not sarcastic, or whatever it is. Yeah. They bond with a good percentage of people, and there's always someone that doesn't like you.
Right.
That happens. You can't worry about those people. But by doing the video, you're going to attract the bees to the honey.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the saying goes, "What you think about, you become," and what you think about, your habits follow. And with that, it's like who you are, what you do, and how you do it. You attract attracts like.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what I always and kind of to your same point of the videos and the reels is, I actually have a client down in St. Pete. We did a test, and he literally did more or less the same exact caption to a photo. The following week, he did a reel talking to the camera.
Same information,
same thing. And he literally told me, he's like, listen, since we started doing reels, my inquiries have gone up by like 80 to 90%.
Wow.
It's like night and day.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah, we're just going to keep doing reels.
Where someone made a comment, reacted.
Where people were not just commenting, but directly reaching out to him.
Mm-hmm.
And like, to either say, hey, this really resonated with me, or hey, I know we talked years ago about this, I'm ready now.
Right.
Or like that whole deal.
The video got the reaction. I mean, I don't. Do we need to talk any more about it? I don't know.
But no, it's a true story.
We know there's a 99% of the agents out there are not doing any regular social media. They are doing, but let's talk, because we can only deal with what is out in front of us.
Right.
What are some of the things that you're seeing agents do? It's great that they're doing something. Can't take that away. We're not going to take that away. For instance, one of the things I think is one of the biggest shames for a real estate agent is not showing themselves in the video. I commented on Jordan Ferreira team with Keller Williams the other day, because she always, when she shows a house, she's either starting from the driveway with her in the video, and then she starts walking towards the house like you're walking with her, and then the camera does take over, and it's just a camera in the house, right? But you feel you're walking around with her.
Right.
Or she comes out of the house and says, hey, and she welcomes the camera. And then it goes into the house and so forth. How important, what are some of the things that you see that agents need to be thinking about or should be adding to get more of that impact, like you in your story you just gave?
Yeah, so kind of going back to our point earlier of people remember faces, they remember images, not so much names most of the time. And so to that same kind of element there, right, is what are we doing in that instance? We're seeing the agent walking through the house. Maybe there's a voiceover of them talking about the kitchen or the
Right.
bathroom upgrades or something. And so it's creating that immersion and that personal connection through the video. And it's also not only that, it's associating the listing with you or whoever the agent is that's doing it in that way. And so it's making that journey, that visual, that audiovisual asset much more emotional and connectable, because maybe it's in I keep going back to Beacon Lakes here, but maybe it's like, talking about how this, 4-bedroom, 3-bath master plan community is great for kids and families and things like that, and then boom.
Right.
I mean,
you're attaching as you're talking. What that makes me another thing I heard a while back, and I was trying to remember where I heard it from. It was probably one of the podcasts that I had listened to, but also your voice
right.
is a big emotional, and however the brain reacts. If you watching a video without a voice versus with a voice, or as a lot of people, a lot of the videos they play a little music, even though they're talking, but they play a
little
low,
bit in the background to kind of enhance that that
upbeat,
cinematic aspect,
whatever it may be. Like, how important is it for them to hear your voice?
I mean, how else are they going to connect to you? It's like, if we see you, great, but it's just like we keep talking about, emotions, connections, personability. That doesn't a pure image of that doesn't communicate that.
Right.
So it's talking about who you are, the listing. I just again using the listing as an example. What kind of image do you want to create in the mind of the viewer versus what you're showing? Right. So it's like we could be showing a nice, clean, open floor plan living room, right? And then maybe it just so happens to be around December is when maybe the listing hits in like November. We talk about, okay, think about the family holidays, bringing the family together, and then
Where's the Christmas tree going to go?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And people start to think about that, and they start to envision themselves in the listing. And I mean, I remember reading this in How to Master the Art of Selling, and it talks about how if you can get the customer or the prospect to physically interact with the item or whatever it is that you're selling,
see themselves in
it, they're going to be more likely to purchase.
Right.
And so it's just I keep talking about strategy, right? It's how do we strategically leverage this media to get that response, to get that, because I mean when you're thinking of from like a real estate standpoint, you can't really do that unless you're in person. So how do we bridge that gap?
Right.
And that's through video.
Well, I mean, Shara Kavanaugh, one of the great Keller Williams agents in the area, she talked, we were talking about, and I actually created a reel off her couch moments. I mean, 100% what you're talking about. But she goes in and shows a house. She has them sit in the living room and sit on the couch. So they sit there and they talk and, have a, greater conversation of what their goals are there. But now they're sitting in the living room, seeing themselves, feeling it actually, being there, and how important that is. When you're consulting, someone's hearing this video, or watching the video, or hearing the podcast, the creativity. Kind of give a little color to what you're bringing, your experience in the movies and so forth in the video, and how I guess really expressing to them what you're visualizing what they're seeing, because you're able to create it because of your experiences. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I think the average person may not be able to, well, what's this video going to look like? You already have a picture of what it's going to look like.
Yeah, like the benefit of working with someone that has that film and TV production background as a producer and a writer is you can tell me, hey, I want to see this, and I can be like, all right, cool, we're gonna get that shot, we're gonna get that shot, we're gonna get that shot. But I also work with a lot of people that have never been in front of the camera before, and that kind of nervousness or anxiety that can come with being in front of the camera can be difficult to overcome if the person that you're working with doesn't know how to guide you through that process.
Right. And
so having worked with people that live in front of the camera, as well as people that have never been in front of a camera before in their lives, I feel that I can bring that coaching and that guidance to make you feel comfortable in front of it, because ultimately that's what the viewers are going to see. And I think the difference between say like a videographer and a video producer is just that. I've seen this happen a lot of times where a videographer, quote unquote, will show up, put a camera on a tripod and say, go. and then let whoever do whatever in front of the camera, whether it's good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's like, okay, yeah, I'll bring the camera and I'll set the tripod up, I'll do the lights and all that fancy stuff. But then it's like, hey, if you're stumbling over your words, it's like, all right, hey, let's take a breath. Let's think about this. What is this coming from? And I mean, obviously, kind of the way that I do it is I'll start asking questions, delving deeper. Like, okay, you said this. Let's talk about this a little bit more, because then it's not only are we making that video, say the company profile, but we're getting audio bites. We're getting little snippets of story that we can then integrate into future videos.
Well, you're also in, I imagine, like in your head, you know what can be edited out.
Yep.
And someone who's never been in front of the camera, we know what editing is, but we really don't know the art behind good editing can do, to make people look better. And having been in front of the camera with you filming, you just got to have the confidence, and you just got to, anyone doing it for the first time, like Matt said, if you've never done, you just got to do it and let you use your artistic ability to make it. But I think you would agree, just like Mr. Beast says, everyone should just shoot 100 videos, commit to 100 videos, and then go back and critique, because you're just going to get better and better every time, which makes it easier for you on the editing side. If someone gets a little better, it's less editing.
And I tell people the same thing, right? Because I mean, obviously, it's one thing to be in front of the camera, it's another thing to like organically freeball it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because like a lot of times, you can kind of get caught up in, oh my God, I'm in front of the camera. What do I do? What do I type out? It's like, all right, let's, put up a teleprompter. We can use a teleprompter so that way all the thinking can be done beforehand, and you're literally just reading off the teleprompter as it's going. It looks like you're looking right at the camera. So that's one way to do it. But then also it's, I forget who it was. I think it was like Bruce Lee, right? It's like, don't fear the man who practices 1,000 punches one time. Fear the man who practices one punch 1,000 times, right? And it's like, if you practice, like you said, do 100 videos, do 1,000 videos.
Right.
I mean, I would probably do critiques after every 10, maybe not after every 100, but still kind of getting that process going, getting that habit going, because while video, like I said, it may not generate, that immediate turnaround in 3 days, although I will say there was a listing video that I did where the listing sold in 4 days after being put on market. So
we don't know what I'll tell you all goes entailed there, but I mean, how people try to be perfect, and the reality is, people don't expect you to be perfect. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean,
especially not a non-professional.
Yeah, the saying goes, done is better than perfect, and especially when you're on like social media. I mean, there are certain deliverables that we strive for, something that's a little bit more refined, like the company profile, because that's going to have a much longer shelf life. But for like a reel that the Instagram algorithm is going to kick out in say less than 2 weeks, or even less, depending on what's covered,
right?
Then it's like, okay, like just get the information out, share the information, share the value, and start positioning yourself as that authority for people to look to for more information.
100%. Well, you dabbled a little bit in there in the scripts. Tell us how you work, or using the teleprompter is the word you actually used. Do you have a lot of your the agents that you're working with, or even business owners that are doing short form, so forth? Are most of them using a script on a teleprompter, or are a lot of them more just going with the winging it?
Yeah. So some do, some don't. I would say we're probably about 50-50, because a lot of that just stems from how comfortable you are in front of the camera and how long you've been doing it. Like for me, depending on what the video is, you put me in front of a camera, I can talk all day about something, but on other topics, I'm like, okay, I need a teleprompter to make sure I get all my information right.
Right.
So like doing something that's maybe more, say, geared towards a entrepreneurial audience, talking about should I start an LLC versus a C Corp versus an S Corp, and just kind of getting very technical with the information.
Right.
I'd probably use a teleprompter for that to make sure that everything's all good.
Or if you want to remember all the details of a particular home, it's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, so many square feet. You may not, or you'd have to hold the notes in front of you.
Right.
You have the ability, you have the equipment, obviously, to put that teleprompter and make it a lot simpler. We also, you coach them a little bit on how to leverage the artificial intelligence, because all the agents are Chat GPT and all the things coming out. How are you, or what are some of your agents utilizing the artificial intelligence for?
So, for one example, right, I leverage ChatGPT as a brainstorming tool, right? So if I'm thinking about like, okay, looking at the market, what are some things that we can cover? And so I'll prompt ChatGPT to be like, all right, give me topics that are related to this, but I use very specific prompting. I've been studying prompt engineering, kind of getting very familiarized with that, so I can get very specific responses from ChatGPT. Because if you say, write me a like a script for a listing video for a 4-bed, 3-bath in St. Johns County, it'll kind of give you something pretty basic. But then if you say, all right, write me this, but but speak on these points, here's some additional information, ask it questions, tell it to ask you questions to get a better understanding before writing it.
Make it exciting.
Yeah,
make it, you know,
write it in the style of Borat or something like that. Yeah,
right.
You can kind of get more of a refined response and a refined output, and obviously take that and polish it up and make it your own.
Right. Again, anything you can just to the audience out there and those who are listening. I mean, you could take the most experienced person because you worked with very experienced, or you know, like I said, you're working, you're out here on the street gaining new clients every day that have, like I said, never really been in front of the video. What are some of the if someone wants to contract and say, hey, I want to. Well, I guess let me start with what are you suggesting to clients as far as the amount of content they should? How often should a real estate agent? What is the industry right now? Should they be posting every 3 days, posting every day, 2 times a day? What's out there right now, as supposedly what the experts recommend?
Right.
Yeah.
So you got to think of it as from a business standpoint, right? From Instagram's eyes, from Facebook's eyes, from YouTube's eyes, their perspective, their goal is to keep people on their platform for as long as possible. So, because like that's where they make their money from, like ad revenues and things like that, by people engaging with content on the platform. So if you're constantly putting fuel into the machine to keep it moving, the machine's going to put fuel back into you and keep that cycle going as far as the algorithm goes. Now, obviously, budgets, time, resources may not be, attuned to everyone posting 4, 5, 6 times a day. So what I try to do is find a schedule that works for me that gears towards my goals. So again, my goals on Instagram are not to sell, but just to provide information, experience, and value that way. So I post Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If your goal is to really kind of start honing in on that brand awareness, you're going to want to be looking to post in some fashion pretty much every day, if not multiple times a day, if you can. And so when it comes to how I structure a lot of approaches when it comes to Reels is we'll take, 3-4 hours. We'll shoot through 12 to, maybe 24. So that way it gives the agents the opportunity to post those Reels either every day or every other day, every weekday. During the course of a month, and then we just cycle that.
Well, and as they get better, you can a 2-hour session today with a new person versus someone 90 days from now. Right. How many reels you can actually create, and then coming prepared. Maybe if they are using a script, to have those scripts already prepared, and your time on site, and which cost to them is a lot less. From that standpoint. I mean, I know some of the best locally that are doing it. They batch their stuff. Yeah, they sit down for 3 hours one morning a month and knock out a bunch of videos, and obviously then those are edited and they're probably ready to start being put out a few days later, and they've got a whole month worth of content, and they move on. There's others. You can bring up Krista Mashore because she is really an expert in the area. She's got this thing where she has her batch content. I've seen her stop, say, hey, yeah, I just shot 30 videos in whatever, 90 minutes or whatever it was, because obviously she's good at it, and her staff is preparing the scripts and everything for her. But then she also sits down every morning while she's putting her makeup on and does a live on Instagram shot, and she's talking about the day or some other thought that came to her. So she's overloading it. Obviously, not everyone's going to do that amount of content, but that's her business. She's a digital marketer, right, as also a real estate agent. But digital marketing is her other business, and she's coaching people on it. So obviously, she wants to flood the market with all of her material. How do you walk an agency? Would you, if I said, hey, Matt, I want, we're going to do this contract. This is what I want to do. I want to shoot, I want to put one reel out or a day, 5 days a week, and so forth. What service are you providing in the standpoint of obviously shooting the video, but as far as editing, and then are you just giving them the edited stuff back, or can do that, or do you also have a staff that will post it for them as well?
Yeah, so I mean, we can be at the way that I like to phrase it is we can be as involved or not involved as the client would like. So typically, I mean, obviously, the more involved we are, price points can go up. But we can do the script writing, we can do obviously the production, the editing. We can do the rollout. Although a lot of the people that I've worked with have kind of that internal marketing person already, so we just kind of typically will hand off the deliverables to that person. But we do also have the capacities and the capabilities to handle the posting and the rollout and things like that across the social media platforms.
Now you post a video out there. How important is it? Because obviously I'm again listening to podcasts, in the different stuffs on different experts on YouTube and so forth. That when someone reacts to your video, says something about it, that you actually react back.
It's super important because one, it shows that you're a real person, and two, it builds that sense of also like again that sense of personability, right? Because it's like you don't want anyone to feel ignored by say like God forbid there be someone that asks a question about this listing and then
you never answer,
you don't respond to
it.
It's like what? So whenever someone comments on something that I make, I always make an effort to respond to them or provide some sort of follow up with them, whether that's a message, whether that's a comment, something. So like when someone will comment something and say, because like with my Motivational Mondays, I'll try to do a challenge for the week, and I'll say comment below, what are you doing this week to better yourself? And then someone will say comment, I'm making 10 more calls than I did last week, and then maybe midway through the week I'll say, awesome, Joey, how are you doing on those calls? And then we'll kind of have that sort of follow up, kind of create that conversation, because it's very relationships based and referral based, like from an industry standpoint, right? So it's again, they may not be ready to buy now. They may not be ready to buy in 5 years, but they may be ready to buy in 10 years. But if you keep that connection, that friendship going through content interaction, who's to say that they won't go with you down the road?
Do you find some, because obviously, they can go in and look at their views on Instagram and so forth, or obviously YouTube. You go pull up your YouTube page, immediately tells you how many views that particular video got or whatever. Should someone, if they're not striving to be a YouTuber and get paid, because you're comparing that video, that you shot that got 1,000 views or 100 views, to the video next to it that got 1.5 million. That's whatever someone created, and whatever it was in there to whether their audience or obviously there's different things you can put in the video that people will click. I mean, guys like to click on girls. Okay, that's just the life. You put in a girl in a bikini, it's probably going to get a lot of clicks. It's just the way it is. It's human nature. Yeah. Should you be so concerned about that from the standpoint that I think one of the reasons why people aren't consistent and stay with it, long term. It's a long term play, and that is because they shoot that first 5 videos and they don't even get 100 views, and they give up. How important is it? You got to stick with it and just get better every day. Maybe change the title of it, because YouTube will tell you. You talk to YouTubers, take the same video, put a totally different title on it.
Yep.
And you'll get a different reaction, whatever it is. So again, repurposing it back through YouTube, but not to get discouraged so much, especially early on, about how many views you're getting.
Yeah, no, and what I tell people, I mean, on the whole quote of focus on your own grass and not worry about comparing it to
right.
to the neighbor's grass that's greener or whatever, whatever the saying goes, but the concept of don't be better than, or don't strive to be better than someone else, strive to be better than your past self.
Right.
right? And also too, from a view count quantity standpoint, it can be easy to get discouraged when you only get a couple, like 2-figure, 3-figure views on your Instagram reels. But who is watching those reels, right? Because it's like another saying, right? I'm the whole Proverbs thing of like 2 or 3 good friends are better than 1,000 like acquaintances or something like that. Yeah. So if those 10 people out of those 10 people, if one of them buys from you, cool. You got 10 views on the video.
Right.
Not 1,000.
Great return.
Yeah. Like you could have 10 people watch one video, say it's a listing video, and then one of the people buys that video or buys the listing, right? Or you can have 1,000 people that aren't even from the area that see the video.
Yeah, they're in Oshkosh Bagosh, and the view. What's that view actually mean? They're just
so it's looking at it that way, right? Is you might only have a handful of views, but those views
quality.
It's quality over quantity,
right?
So and I mean, obviously we're not able to tell who's actually watching from the standpoint of, is this a real estate investor or something, or is this Johnny who's looking to buy his first home in 6 months, or something like that. So it's looking at it that way, right? Is just consistently putting that content out there. It's going to cast the net wider, longer over time, and it's like the wider you cast the net, the farther you throw it, the better the chance of catching fish.
Now, talking about views, you had one little section in here, some of the things that you're doing from the editing side. Obviously, if you want someone to stay on, the video is having some sort of motion. The fast cuts you put on here, it keeps people's attention. I know that they talk about it, and not everyone's prepared for it, like having different camera angles. I know are some very creative influencers on Instagram, especially the ladies that like to wear the different outfits, and they're promoting whatever brand or whatever outfit they're doing. They're very creative in how they just they're using the video, and they're probably doing 99% of that on their iPhone. Using that and using the features that are already built into Instagram to create those special effects.
Yep.
Right. So obviously learning that can make that easy. But when we talk about views, how important is it? Yeah, if you want something to go, let's say viral, but you want a lot of clicks, is to slowly build yourself up to creating some of those special effects.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like what's it called. You got to start somewhere. So the effects, although cool, may not be practical. And so you want to look at what's going to give you the best value for your time and what's on brand. Because doing like a jump spin and then changing outfits midair, right, from an effect standpoint, is probably not going to do a whole lot when you're looking to sell a house or do like a listing video. Yeah. So it's just, again, that consistency of developing your skills, developing your comfortability in front of the camera, and just delving further into that, I think, is where the mastery of it is going to come in. Yeah.
I think there can be some creative things out there. If you, one of the recommendations of one of the major YouTube podcasts talks about is, you slowly build up, but I lost my train of thought of what he was going to say, because I was trying to remember the name of the podcast. But we'll go back to that. I lost that train of thought on that one. I was trying to think of the name of the podcast, and it threw out my thought. So let's see, where was I?
Yeah, like, I mean, there's definitely ways to be creative, right? So maybe we do, like a Google Earth thing, zooming in, and suddenly now we're in St. Johns County, Beacon Lake again, whatever. Right. Or maybe there's a house with a pool, right? And then we're kind of, lounging by the pool, sipping some orange juice or something because it's Florida. And then it's like, hey, welcome to St. Johns County. And then delving into maybe the listing or something like that. So
this wasn't a particular thought, but we have talked about YouTube a little bit. Your thumbnails on YouTube, can be important. But you can outsource that creativity. There's a lot of Fiverr is obviously one of the popular places to go. They can create that for you. I mean, there's people that sit at home and they love doing that, and they'll create that for you. So there's really nothing that should be stopping. That part is very inexpensive. You get someone to design it, and sometimes they could just design you a template and you just insert the thing, or you just have them create the stuff for you.
That's what I do. Is I just make branded templates based on the channels that we manage, and then loop them through. Like based on whatever the video is, we've got I think I build 5 or 6 different templates that we can use and recycle and reuse based on whatever concepts or topics are being discussed in the video, and then we just knock through them, load them up, and we're good to go.
Right. I want to finish with this here. So we're at an hour and 15 minutes here. Not that we're constrained on time, but our attention span of our audience, I know, is well beyond. And we've bred this into the conversation a little bit, again, talking about your business, what you can bring, because I think you and I both feel that there's a lot of agents that we can take from zero to hero fairly reasonably, or at least zero to creating some sort of reasonable content. Speaking to those people, and use some of the bullet points that we put on there, because of your background, you're not just a guy who just can shoot a video and create. You can actually coach them, and being a little more comfortable in front of the camera, like a great photographer is. When these people who can take photography of kids, I mean, they're great. Why? Because they actually know how to get the attention of the kids, and they're coaching the kid basically to do what they need to do to get what their job is. You're able to do that with any business owner, but we're talking about real estate agents and walk through. How important do you think it is? One of the agents that you had on there, I was going through your website this morning just to refresh, because I've been on there before, but you've obviously added stuff to it. To do that initial business interview, so that people can, when they Google them, or even after they're referred to them, can go on and look that person up, or you send them the link that actually has that business introduction. They may have already been introduced. Hey, Sally said you're a great realtor. Hey, yeah, we're looking for these houses. Great. Let's set up a consultation, or selling or buying a house. Or let's sit down and talk about what you want to do and where you want to be. But to send them that video that actually they come on and they talk about themselves and the services, and they're in their office, and are agents leveraging that enough?
I would say that you can never leverage it enough.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's for people that don't know you, it can be that warm introduction. For people that do know you, or at least know you just a little bit, it can help maybe bridge that gap between or okay, let's do this, right? Because it's using those company profiles is to make the agent, make the business more personable, right? And to tell the story of the brand, to tell the story of the business, and also visually for the viewer to see themselves in the shoes of, say, the customers that we showed in the video.
Right.
So it's like here's literally visually what the journey is going to look like from introduction to close.
How to win friends and influence people, staple in any personal development. One thing is obviously like to get the person to talk about themselves. And when you don't know everything about, the buyer who just got referred to you, but they don't really know much about you other than the person who referred you, right? They know that connection. But to actually have this video talking about, this particular agent was talking about, the military, and her husband's in the military, that sort of thing. And, when they do actually meet, they actually have something to talk about, because at least the buyer can say, "Oh, I know a little bit about her. Oh, my husband served, or I served, or my father served in the Navy as well." Now all of a sudden you start to build common ground, because you kind of before you even actually met physically face to face, they know a little bit behind you. You're like, "Oh, this person's pretty cool." Johnny referred him, so I know you're somewhat cool. But now I watched your video and I know a little bit more about you. You're that much further down in the relationship.
Yep. Yeah. And again, like that's kind of the purpose is to again, people will watch the video, and be able to form that connection before they even have that initial meeting. In the case of, say, someone that hasn't been previously introduced before. And I mean, yeah, like you can have the video linked in your email signature, learn more about me or such and such group or whatever. And then I click on that and it's right there every single email. So it's consistently being pushed in front of new and recurring audiences and who knows. Maybe.
That's a great advice there. Put it right in your signature. Know more about me, know more about my real estate business, however you want to, put in there, click here. And they're getting that professional video edited by you, making the agent look awesome, in their business, in their wheelhouse, so to speak, so they feel ultimately comfortable. And obviously you stage a few things in there, but it gives it gives that person that visual. So you're coaching them through that. In being the young business that you are, as far as not in your experience in videography, but obviously you want to grow your business, as we all want to do. Tell us some of the things you had put on here. Go the extra mile. Tell us something you've done for an agent that they asked you to do that, or not necessarily an agent, maybe a business owner, because but you say go the extra mile. In an interview, I'm going to ask you, what do you mean go the extra mile? Where have you gone the extra mile?
I mean, literally, if you look at the was it the odometer on my car, you'll see a lot of extra miles. But no, like I mean, from a geographic location, I traveled down to Tampa for clients. I traveled to Orlando. I've gone as far south as Miami. I'll fly out of state, even out of the country, to service people if it makes sense. But from the standpoint of the clients that I have that connection with, that relationship with, and that I work with, is I like to invest in the relationship, right? Because it's like when say the agents that I work with do well, then it incentivizes a continuous build of relations from a business standpoint. But it's like if say maybe you buy 7 reels, I'll probably give you 8 or 9 if there's content there to make that, because it's going to help you more in the long run. And it's like, again, just like I said, investing in the relationship. And plus even beyond that, thinking about the coaching side, just like I said, I know a lot of videographers that will show up with a tripod and say, go. It's like, hey, no, like the delivery is off here. Let's redo that. Maybe I need to reword the question. Maybe we need to adjust the script.
And I have experience. You've done that a lot, and numerous times we've just jumped in front of the camera and shot something. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like my goal, my job that say you or whoever pays me for is to make you look, sound, and do good in front of the camera.
Yeah.
On one hand, there's other things too, as far as videos go. But it's like, with that being said, it's if I'm not doing that, what am I doing?
Right.
It's like we're here to make something that is going to serve you. We're here to create an asset. We want that asset to be the best that it can possibly be.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that rounds it up. I mean, and if we haven't mentioned it enough in this conversation, the difference that you're going to get with Matt is almost your director level, the coaching. You are actually, a good director is seeing it on the screen, right? They know, they're watching it here. As many of us say, oh, there's a camera. What's this going to look like when you frame it in and make it look? You have the experience and obviously the vision, the talent that you're able to see it while you're shooting it. Hey, let's shoot you from this side with that, wherever the sun's coming from over there. All those types of things that is involved in making the most perfect video or photo. I want to touch on you because you mentioned photos on here. Talk to us. Is there people really utilizing your photos? Is this something that you do? I really like the one we did the other day where you were filming me with the agent and you took the picture and we used it as an Instagram reel. Oh, that stuff is beautiful. Like the behind the scene type photography that's going on. But what are they using you from just to round up from the photo standpoint, the picture?
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of the photo stuff I do is just kind of ancillary to the video. Video's the bread and butter. That's what I specialize in. And that's what I do day to day. But when there's a need for photography, like thinking like lifestyle videos, right? Maybe the agent or the group needs photos of them, in like downtown Jack's by the water, seeing the skyline, right? And
Because you're shooting video down there anyway. Now we
Yeah.
need a couple photos to.
yeah, it's like
Yep.
let's snap a few things, promote or
Right.
use them to promote on Instagram, leverage those across social media, print ads, whatever you're doing, flyers, whatever. And it's like just you know
You think it just make me think of that, like the photo you took the other day. You're behind your tripod with me and the real estate agent out there, and it kind of really obviously customers see it, or obviously other agents hopefully see it, so you're advertising yourself a little bit, because is the standpoint is like, yeah, we are actually working here. This is a production that you're doing, and it's the service you're providing, but it's the agents are showing, if they're out there showcasing a house, or that type of thing, and you're getting this behind the scene type videos. It's showing that seller that, yeah, I'm actually paying a professional to do this.
Yep.
To make your house look great in front of your house.
I'm working to sell your house.
Yeah.
And here's what it looks like.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, they see the video and don't realize what's behind. Who's shooting that video? You know what I'm saying? There's sometimes you're seeing, whoa, hold on a second, they're not on a selfie stick. Someone's shooting that video. Well,
like I mean, in some cases, right? You've got like the whole tripod and like the whole lighting set up and going, and it's like, all right, cool. Like this is a production. We're
taking it to another level.
In, yeah. And I mean, sometimes too, you get like the really big cameras out there, and it's like, all right, I'm holding the rig,
right?
So
right.
yeah, it's.
Is there anything we didn't touch on? I mean, anything you want to add here as we round out?
I think we covered a lot of ground, and I mean, I would just say if anyone's interested in learning more on how video can help them, feel free to give me a call.
I know we didn't put our notes of the class we want to put together, but let's finish up with that. Just talking about that, maybe we'll clip this out of the video, and those are listening here in the end. So Matt and I we're devising this class that we want to put on, because we really feel, and Matt, comment on what I'm saying as I'm talking to the audience, we really feel there's a lot of agents out there that want to do it. They just don't know that first step, and they need some basics. And you guys are going to a lot of classes talking about how you need to do social media. You've been told that a million times. So we don't want to create another class saying, hey, you need to be social media. Look at all these statistics.
Right.
Here's how you do it. Yeah, here's how you actually do it. We're going to shoot a couple of videos, do a teleprompter thing, and shoot some basics. And obviously, if you want to take that off on your own, great. If Matt can then, if you want to say, hey, Matt, I want your professional assistance, because I do know I need to do video. And now that I've been in a room with you for a few hours and understand what you're doing and your professionalism, I want to hire your service to do a little or all of it, right?
Yeah, and again, just like you said, right, there's all these, like, I cannot tell you how many events I've been to where it's like everyone's saying content, but it's like, okay, let's actually walk through, like, hold your hand and say, here's how you do it.
Yeah.
Because that's where I think that there's going to be a lot more value to it, because just like you said, it's people don't know necessarily where to start or how to start. And from someone that does it on a daily basis, it's actually pretty easy to start. It's just, I think we're in this time where there are so many tools, so many resources out there that it's analysis paralysis.
Oh,
what's
100%.
the right one?
Yeah.
Like, what's the right tool to write a script? I mean, really comes down to, are you Apple or Windows?
Really? Well, and I think, like myself, and I think you're probably the same way, especially your video. You're like, let's just shoot the video and I'll clean it up, right? Or if we didn't shoot it, so what? I'll delete that and we'll shoot it again. You and I that's our thing. Or I'm like, dive it in and let me fumble forward. We'll correct the mistakes or whatever, and move on. A lot of people are, a little they don't have that kind of personality that were to dive in. So we want to help some of those people who know they need to do it. They just want to get those first few steps, do it a couple of times. Now that, oh, wow, this isn't so difficult. Let me shoot my next one. I can do the next one on my own, whatever. We want you to leave there with some real basics. And I'm a testament to the basics. I didn't really start taking the video that I already had from my podcast and obviously add every week. Doing these reels, I learned, hey, what software they use, and someone recommended that, and I had asked them, well, how do you put the logo on there, right? And that's funny. I asked that question. I had someone ask me that the other day. The personal trainer, she does her Instagram. She goes, how do you put that logo on there? So I showed her on CapCut how to do that. You know, it was very simple, but sometimes you just don't know what to ask. And, you know, I think, would you agree, if you want to be really good at content, you also have to be a connoisseur or consumer of content. You have to watch and see what other people are doing and pick up little things.
Yeah. What's the saying? The best writers are also readers.
Yeah.
The best content creators are also content consumers.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. You have to see what other people are doing. Take that idea, and then you're gonna ask someone, "Hey, Matt, how does that person doing that?" You know,
because I mean, at the end of the day, right? You don't have to be exactly like everyone else, but you can borrow pieces of what everybody else is doing to make it your own.
And just keep moving forward each video. You don't have to wait till you know all that stuff. Just shoot the basic one, and then go, well, okay, how do I add those colors and add that to the next one? How do I add the logo? You do that to the next one, and then you move on and you just keep growing, because every day there's new
tools,
new tools,
new techniques. Like, it seems like every month there's like something.
There's an update.
Yeah,
you got to update, because I used CapCut on the desktop a lot. I was using it on my iPad here, but now I just do it on my desktop for the most part, because I like the bigger screen. But you know, every month there's an update, and you have to click it, and it updates, and then what it does is it's adding more tools, more things that you can use and dabble in. 99% of it you're probably not going to use, but you're going to pick out a few things that way you like your reel to look, and that's what you're going to go with.
100%. Yeah,
100%. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
I hope some people got some good stuff out of it. We can clip this last part off talking about it, the class and what our goal was there, and we'll be advertising that hopefully in the next month or so. And we want to keep the classes small, so that you know, because that way we can be hands-on. We don't want it so saturated we don't have time, and we're wasting a lot of people's time by getting to the 30th person, and the first person's been standing there for an hour.
No, absolutely. Yeah. No, the goal is to have kind of that more intimate cohort style hands-on approach, because then we can more directly work with people, obviously, but really kind of spend the time that we need to elevate people to the level that is going to best benefit them from a content standpoint.
100%. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Tracy.